my life is very full. However, I love the concept of alignment, and it's called Align for a reason, because I feel like when you're moving forward in alignment with your unique gifts, talents, purpose, and calling, the things that you do don't feel heavy and don't make you feel busy. They light you up and they energize you.
If you can learn the formula of alignment, you can learn how to, number one, detect when you're out of alignment. Number two, know what to do to start to make the minor corrections that get you back into it. And then you know what that feels like. It is a way of living. It's a way of being, and it is possible.
Welcome to the Empowered Life Podcast,
a space dedicated to spreading the message that you have the power within to create everything you seek.
So if you're ready to enroll in a new kind of higher learning, the kind that leads to true personal freedom, hang here with us.
We're your hosts, Rudi and Anniston, and this is Empowered Life. Welcome to the Empowered Life Podcast. My name is Rudi Riekstins. I'm joined by Anniston Riekstins, and today we have an incredible guest that we want to bring to the show, who is no stranger to the Empowered Life Podcast. She's no stranger to us and to our lives. We absolutely love and adore her family. In fact, we're even trying to make plans to go and visit them in the new year because they are just that cool. And we're looking forward to getting to know them just even more. And I think that today you're going to learn a little bit more about our incredible guest, former nurse, also fitness professional, turned a multi-entrepreneur who has built multiple 6- and 7-figure businesses. She's a mentor, she's a coach, she's the host of the Align the Good Life, and she's also the creator of Align, the in-person transformational events. It is just such an honor and a privilege, Brooke, to have you back on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Brooke Hemingway.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited about this conversation today. And before you hit record, I said, I just want to have a rich conversation that's real and that adds value. And so I just trust that that's what's going to happen today. And I'm so happy to be here with you.
Well, we are so grateful that you were available to join us today. Anniston had come to me, this is for the benefit of the audience, about 2 weeks ago. And she said, gosh, we've got to have Brooke back on the podcast because you've got an event that's coming up in the new year. And I had the privilege of being in the room last year, not only as a speaker, but as a student. And I am in a lot of these rooms. And there's something very, very different about your room and what you curate. Our audience knows that Anniston and I host events for her organization, and then I host events for other organizations. So I know what it's like to pour in so much effort, so much energy, so much intentionality into every detail when you're creating and curating events for other people's transformation. But you really have tapped into something that's very unique that I don't see in other rooms that other people are creating. And we're going to divulge a little bit of that as we go throughout the show. But Anniston had said, gosh, we really need to have her on the show so we can ask her from her vantage point for the benefit of our audience, like, what is it that really drives you and motivates you to create these events? I know I'm doing so much talking right now, but I want to set the stage for a second. You're the busiest person I know. You have all these businesses, you have 6 kids, you have this thriving relationship, you've got all these activities, you do masterminds, you do retreats, there's just so much. So our question, I guess, to kick off today is just why Align? Like, what is your passion behind this event and why pour so much time, effort, and energy into it?
That's such a great question. And also it kind of covers everything that you mentioned. I am very busy, but I don't use the word busy. I say that my life is full. It's full of all of the things that I love and I choose, because busy has a negative connotation. And when we use words that could have a negative connotation, it feels energetically very heavy. And so I could say, oh my gosh, I'm so busy, but my life is very full. However, I love the concept of alignment, and it's called Align for a reason, because I feel like when you're moving forward in alignment with your unique gifts, talents, purpose, and calling, the things that you do don't feel heavy and don't make you feel busy. They light you up and they energize you. Now, does that mean I never get tired? No. But I know that everything I'm doing is on purpose and has a purpose and is in alignment with what I'm supposed to do. And I think that most people get exhausted or don't think that they could do what Sally does or Sandy does or Rudi does, because they watch and they think, oh my gosh, that would be exhausting. But if they were in their lane and they were in alignment with what lit them up and set their soul on fire, it would not be exhausting. It would be energizing. And so I believe you have all the energy you need for everything that you want to do if it is the right thing that you're doing. If you're doing the wrong thing, of course, you're going to be drained. So why align? I have told this story before, and I don't even know if I told it on your podcast, but I kind of stumbled into success and into business about 9 years ago. And I really was just in the thick of raising kids. I was a traditional stay-at-home mom who worked a little bit as a nurse and have, a background in fitness and health and wellness. And so I was doing those things and had 5 kids at the time, 9 and under. And so my life was really full. I stumbled into entrepreneurship and learned that I had a knack for it. And it was really that I had a knack for people, like for loving people, developing potential, seeing the best in people, seeing the possibilities. And I never knew that I was a visionary, but it was like I could just see it. I could see how this could grow and I could see what other people could do. And I would cast that vision. And I just had this ability to bring people along on the journey and bring them into the mission and the purpose. However, for the first 3 years, it was just crazy and it was insane. And I was really driven and I was a perfectionist and I was type A and I was an achiever. Like, give me a goal and I will not only hit the goal, I will annihilate the goal. Like, tell me I can't do something and then watch me do it like 10 times. That's kind of my personality. I say I have the extreme gene. And what I didn't understand is that the thing that was driving that was this intense amount of feeling like a failure, like a disappointment, like I wasn't enough, like I would never be enough, like I was an imposter, all of these things. And so in order to kind of cover that up, I was like, well, let me just drive and go and do and achieve and like prove to myself. And so I did that. I did that for 3 years, but guess what? That didn't work. It didn't work. And I ended up like so burnt out and so exhausted and feeling even more of a disappointment, especially in my personal life. Like I felt like I wasn't a good wife. I wasn't a good mom. I wasn't a good leader. And I almost quit. I almost just like set it all down and walked away from it because I really believed I couldn't have it all. I couldn't be a mom that was just like in it with her kids. I couldn't have a great marriage. I couldn't be fit and healthy, and I couldn't be a millionaire at the same time. And it felt so crippling and so defeating and so awful to feel that way because I didn't want to believe that, but that's what I felt. And so I was faced with this decision of, do I quit and just put it down and just go into cruise control, or do I figure this out? And there's that part inside of all of us, I think, this human desire to figure things out. Like there's gotta be a way. And so I went on this personal journey for about a year of working on myself, having a coach, having mentors, like reading incessantly, listening to a million podcasts, going on walks and runs and crying and, listening to you. I was just like in it. I was like, I got to figure out either I'm quitting or I'm staying. And by the way, that's a crappy place to be. It's like you got 1 foot in and 1 foot out. And what I learned over that year is that I was just really out of alignment. Like I was out of alignment so badly that it was making everything so much harder. It was making marriage hard, motherhood hard, business hard. And that's where I came up with Align, because I realized that getting into alignment was the key. If I could find my own unique alignment, which is not the same as Anniston's or yours or somebody else, everyone's alignment is different. It's not about having balance. It's not about, getting everything equaled out. Alignment is like feeling the energy of what in your life is out of alignment and what in your life needs a little bit more attention and nurturing and nourishment and care. And when you give a little bit of attention and nourishment to that part of your life, the other areas of your life start to flow more effortlessly. And so when I did do that and I focused on some areas of my life that were starving, it was pretty amazing. It was like, oh, wait, my success is still growing. Like things are still working out here. And I felt so passionate about teaching other people, especially women, I think, because we tend to have a lot more guilt and shame. And I just wanted to show them like, hey, listen, you don't have to give up on your dreams. You don't have to think you can only have this, but you can't have that. And the secret is really in finding that alignment and giving the attention. It's kind of like what I picture is like this river, just kind of like sometimes you're flowing over here and sometimes you're flowing over there and sometimes it's up here. And like everything works out because you're listening and you're like, this needs my attention now, or this needs my attention now, without the fear that everything else is going to fall apart. Because when you go to the place and part and piece of yourself or your life that needs attention, you get to, when you're in alignment, trust that everything else is going to work out. So that's where Align came from. That was a really long explanation, but
it was such a good one though. It was like such a good one. And I was over here like jotting down notes because you kept saying some things that were really ringing true for me. And number one, I think you are such a beautiful expander, Brooke. And I think we all need expanders to show us what's possible. And I think so many people, women and men, but I know a lot of women have stories around what is possible for them, what is exhausting, and they can't even imagine their life full to the brim with everything that they love because number one, they don't feel worthy of it. Number two, they don't know anyone who's done that. Right. And I think just your demonstration is such a blessing and it's such a gift. And then your willingness to then turn around and say, now let me show you how. Right. And that is the beautiful, I think, just energetic dance that we do, right? When we are in the flow and we are happy and we are purposeful, we naturally want to turn around and share that. And share it from such an authentic space. I also think that, and I love that you love the word alignment. I also do too, because I think it is the best and always true strategy, right? Because like you said, our purpose is an ever evolving target, right? And as we grow, it's going to continue to grow. But if you can learn the formula of alignment, right? You can learn how to, number one, detect when you're out of alignment. Number two, know what to do to start to make the minor corrections that get you back into it. And then you know what that feels like. It is a way of living. It's a way of being, and it is possible. And so I guess my question for you is, with Align and the event, I know a lot of women who will say like, oh, well, I don't necessarily want to be a coach, or I don't necessarily want to own my own business. So what am I going to gain from an event like this?
That's a great question. One of my friends that has become a client came to Align thinking that she was going to come away with like her next moves for her business strategy and how she was maybe going to grow her coaching business. And when she was in the room, the download that she got, because she came in just like open to receive, which is my invitation to everyone, is just to come in like as an empty vessel, just be open to receive. Don't have any preconceived notions. I mean, obviously prepare yourself to be present and intentional, but don't come in like with this expectation that you're going to get X, Y, and Z. So she thought that that's what she was going to get. But the download that she got was that this year was going to be the year that she worked on her marriage and healed her marriage, and the year that she was going to work on healing her relationship with money, which was not at all what she thought she was coming into the room for. That is actually, in fact, what she got this year. And also, interestingly enough, she made over 6 figures in a new coaching business. And so it just like perfectly proves the concept that it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you come into this room, you don't even have to have a business, but something can maybe feel off, or you're experiencing some increased friction in your life or friction in what you're doing. And I just believe it's a space for clarity. It's this space where inspiration comes in and can give you the answer to whatever it is that you need. It's that kind of a space. So yeah, you don't have to be growing a coaching business. Most people are not coaches that are in the room, and they oftentimes walk out of there identifying something personal in their life that they've been trying to avoid, they've been trying to shove down, they've been trying to set aside for another time or a better time. And instead they're like, I'm going to work on this goal. I'm going to work on this business. I'm going to make X amount of dollars, not understanding that it is everything else in your life that is affecting and blocking your prosperity. It's affecting and blocking your abundance. And so I'm always so excited when they go out with something completely different than they thought they were coming in for.
You know, I want to share with the audience, just for the benefit of giving them more context, because anytime I listen to something, I'm always listening and I'm thinking, where's the angle in this conversation and what are they offering? And Anniston and I have absolutely no gain in bringing Brooke onto the show outside of, we just love you and want to support you in having your highest and your greatest growth and potential. And I'm speaking not just to Brooke, I'm speaking to every single person that's listening. What I love so much about this room, and I want to give some context, is I was fortunate enough to be a speaker last year. And I had gone to Brooke at one point in the day. And I do this at every single speaking event that I have. I go to the host and I say, how can I best serve or support you today? Like, my intention is to come and to serve your audience, but how can I serve you? Is there something that I can do that can set you up? Is there an offer that you're making to sell something? Is there anything where I can support you at the same time that I'm supporting your audience? And Brooke looked at me like I was an alien, and she was like, no, like, just serve the people in the room. Like, it was the most foreign question. Like, what do you mean? How can you serve what I need? It was just serve the people. And so many other people would turn around and say, oh, well, actually, you know what? I'm going to make this big offer. I'm going to do this thing. You know, if you could say this, that would support me in getting that. And you were just focused about the people in the room, curating the people in the room. And I walked away from that, and I only really understood later where your response had come from. Because when people go to an event that's 2 to 3 days, there's almost always a journey, which is a couple of speakers, and then somebody comes out and makes a big offer, and then the next speaker comes in, and then they make another offer, and there's a limited time, and then there's another offer, and then it eventually sells into something.
I've been there at those events.
Sorry?
I've been there at those events, and I can spot the setup. Like, the whole time I'm like, okay, it's coming. Okay, there it is.
There it is. And you know, you got up at one point later in the day, and you just said, hey folks, so I'm just going to throw up a QR code. This is what it looks like to work with me. If you're interested, just let me know. It was like 30 seconds. You walked off the stage. There was no sell. There was no hype. There was no like, can you come up and give a testimonial? And it was so beautiful because you really curated this around creating impact for people. There was singing, dancing, there were drums on stage. I mean, there was literally everything you could possibly imagine. And I think a testament to somebody who hosts a really impactful event is when the speakers come in and they sit in the room. Yeah. And your entire speaker lineup, with the exception of 2 people, sat in the room the entire weekend, and everyone was engaged. And I think that is really what makes this such a beautiful experience, because not only was I there to speak, but I was also there to be the student. And I myself took so much from that. You obviously talk about being in alignment, but that takes a tremendous amount of intentionality. And so I would love if you could share a little bit about, you know, what is the focus for this particular event? What are you intentioning for people to walk away with, or to have, or for even for you to be able to experience inside the room?
Well, I feel, before, I've been thinking as Anniston was talking and you were talking, and I feel like this is a message that somebody needs to hear that's listening, is that we all have a divine assignment. Whatever divine means to you, but we all have a divine assignment. And I just want to remind you that most of the time you're not going to want to do it. Okay. So you're going to get a download and you're going to be like, no freaking way. Like, I'm not doing that. And let that be the indication that yes, you're absolutely supposed to do that. Because as you were talking and you're talking about this event, like, I know that it was a divine download and like something I was supposed to do, but when you look at people doing big things like an event or speaking or whatever, I think a lot of times we think they just are naturally gifted or they're super confident and it's just like so easy for them to do it. But for me, it's literally like every year I die And every year I have to like really work through this process of like, okay, I can do this, because if it wasn't a divine download or something divine that you were supposed to do, it would be easy. Like, let that be your, a marker of whether this is like truly meant to be or not. If it's super easy and it doesn't require very much of you, that's probably not the thing. So for me, yeah, it's an insane amount of attention to detail, and I'm obsessed with the experience, and I'm obsessed with feeling the energy of the transformation that's happening. I feel like I can feel the light bulbs turning on, and I can feel them shifting into that next version of themselves, or just releasing things that they need to release in order to lighten their path forward. And so this year, I really struggled with the theme. I pick a word every year because words matter so much to me. I think words hold all the power. The words that we speak in our mind to ourselves, the words that we speak out loud, the words that people speak over us. Like, we learn so much from our words. And I could not pick a word, Rudi. I was seeing all of the typical words: inspire, evolve, transform, like all of the typical, transformational language. And I use a lot of that language, but all of them felt cheap. Like, all of them felt like just half baked. And I was like, I can't do any of these words. And I was traveling a lot. There's been a lot of shifts and challenges with kids and things that you guys know about that I've been walking through this year that's really uncovered another layer and level of me, and like it's ready to effing go. And so I'm sitting at my computer a few Sundays ago, and I'm like, maybe there's no word this year. And so I actually got on our friend ChatGPT, which I use from time to time. Doesn't write any of my content, by the way. I write my content. But I got on ChatGPT and I said, give me 20 synonyms for the word inspire. Give me 20 synonyms for the word transform. And none of them were hitting it. And I was like, give me 20 more, give me 20 more, give me 20 more, because I was not seeing any words that fit. And the word revolution pops up, and it's like whoosh, like this. I literally started bawling. I was sitting right here and I started bawling because I knew that was it. I was like, this is the year of the revolution. This is not some half-baked, half-energy, fluff fest. Like, let's go and feel good and let's be inspired, and then let's leave the room and go back to our same habits and our same behaviors and our same level of success. No, we are starting a freaking revolution. It's time for the revolutionary life, the revolutionary year. And I feel like that's literally what's happened for me and what is happening for me. And so that's the energy that I want to bring. Because every day, you probably see this, I see this, people that have been with me for years, people that have still been playing it safe. They're like on the edge, they're on the cusp. They're like, but they just can't jump. And it's like, this is the year to jump. And a revolution speaks to this massive energy, sort of counterculture, sort of like against the grain, and also not an incremental tiny change. Like, this is like flipping your life upside down and doing a 180, because you trying to change the tiniest thing and play it safe and make a little move, like, it's probably not working for you. It's time to just flip the script and do a 180 and totally turn things upside down. And that's the energy, is like, we're having a revolution this year. So that's the theme.
I love that. And I've got like God bumps all over, like goosebumps, just because it really resonates with me. And I think it feels like the right time for that kind of an energy. And, Rudi and I ourselves, like we put ourselves into at least one room a year together for growth. We pick a conference, we pick an experience. And we do this not because we don't have willpower or the discipline to sit down and do our spiritual work in the mornings or meditate. We're very disciplined. We do it because we know the power of it, of getting out of your space, like getting out of what's familiar for you, putting yourself into a room of like-minded people who are holding a similar intention, right? For transformation, for change, for breakthroughs. That you cannot buy. Like, you just can't. And especially to put yourself in a room where we believe whoever plans the event is the anchor of the energy of the event. Yes. And so it's very important to us where we put ourselves, that we are aligned with the integrity and the intention of of whoever conceived this event, right, and whoever's holding the energy of the event. And I think that the magic really comes not from just the knowledge that you gain, because yes, you will gain a lot of knowledge, but it's no longer, I don't think it's just enough. Like I know Joe Dispenza love to say, it's not enough to just know anymore. You need to know how, but more than that, you've got to be willing to feel and you've got to be willing to experience in order for anything to change. And human nature, like we avoid it, right? Or we'll like dip our little toe in the water. We need somebody and the support of other people who are doing the same thing to say, it's going to be okay. I'm going to stretch you out of your comfort zone. We are going there for the next couple of days. I've got you. All I ask is for an open mind. And I think that what I want everyone to hear that is listening to this is, number one, if this is pulling at you, it's pulling at you for a reason. If you're sitting there thinking like, gosh, I've been wanting a change. I've been wanting the support to transform. And what you said, Brooke, was so right. If you transform one area of your life, we're like holographic beings. Every part of your life changes. Every time we have a breakthrough in our relationship, you know what we noticed? Our finances went up.
Yes.
It's so true, right? Yes. I totally agree. We've even noticed that within our own lives. And so what I am most excited about is not just being in the room and being able to support you, but is being a student there, because I know that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And so I just want for anyone listening who is saying, you know, this is really resonating with me, like, you're worthy of this. Like, get yourself in the room and you will be amazed at the level of breakthroughs that can happen. And just in case you need a little bit of encouragement, Brooke, what are some of the breakthrough stories that you've gotten from some of your events?
Yeah. Well, I mean, to your point too, is like the intention of the room is for you to have an experience that transforms. And I truly believe Mark Batterson says, sometimes God takes you out of the ordinary to give you an extraordinary experience. And in our ordinary life, when we're not in immersion, in a growth experience, while we can experience change and we can grow, there is something really powerful about immersion and taking you out of your family home, out of your work, out of that space that you just are in your normal routines, to shift things and break things up in such a powerful way that you can't help but transform. So I'm a huge believer in immersive experiences. It's also why I don't live stream the event. And people ask me every year, like, do you have a virtual ticket? And I'm like, you can't really get the experience. And I appreciate that we need virtual things sometimes, but I'm a purist in that I believe it has to be live and it has to be in person. I want to speak to the experience of what you said, Anniston, is like, we're going to help you to break things down. Some people are afraid of that. You're afraid to go into a room and to really be seen. You're afraid to cry. You're afraid it might be too heavy. It might be too deep. We might go too far. And Rudi can speak to this, is that I take you through all of the emotions. We play, we laugh, we dance, we turn the music up loud, we hit the drumsticks. It's like this whole sensory physical experience, because I'm not looking to get you into the deepest, darkest parts of yourself all day. I'm looking for you to experience all of the emotions so that if you had a hard breakthrough, guess what? We're going to get you up. We're going to get you to like move and to like get that energy out, because emotion is energy in motion. And we don't want you to feel stopped or too heavy. So if you're kind of afraid of that, I want you to understand you're going to have an incredible experience. It's going to be deep, but it's also going to be fun. And it's also going to be energetic. Some of the transformational experience, well, besides that one client I told you about, I see a lot of people come into the room and experience a lot of transformation in their personal relationships, whether it's with a mother, a sister, or their partner. It's something that they realize and they take ownership and accountability for, and it opens up the conversation for a lot of healing in relationship. And I believe so deeply that the quality of our relationships is like it's the biggest factor in our lives because we're connected. We're connected beings and we're hardwired for that. And so when we are challenged to communicate and connect and to heal with other people, we really are stopped on our path. And so I get a lot of stories of people improving or saving their relationships and having this 180 in their relationships. I also see a lot of people that have come into the room and they've been trying to make something work for a really long time. You know, people that are like, they don't want to give up. They're not quitters. And they've been going down a path for a really long time. And they realize when they're in that room sometimes that wasn't the path for them and that it's okay to let that path go. And it's okay to pursue what their heart is really calling them to. And then all the time, I think to your point when you started the podcast, I'm an expander. So Rudi knows this about me. It's like, don't put me in a box. Don't say I can only do one thing and I can only be good at one thing. And so what I see people come out of this room is like, they get this drop in, like, I want to start a podcast, or they get this drop in, I want to start a blog, or I want to do this thing. And they feel this energy of empowerment and they're in power. They're in their power to go out and be more expansive. And so I see a lot of people create new offerings or new free things like a podcast that they didn't even come into that room realizing. It's just been in their subconscious. So it is an expansive room that if you come in there, you are going to come out of there with an idea of something else that your soul is calling you to do. And that happens every single year, like dozens of people doing new things that they never thought they were going to be able to do, because I really show them in a very imperfect way, hey, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And it's not perfect, but it's what I'm supposed to be doing. And you need to go out there and just go for it. And so there's this kind of go for it energy, and people leave that room launching lots of new things, lots of new ideas.
So when you were talking and Anniston was asking you a question, I picked up my phone and I did a search and I wanted to look up the meaning of the word revolution, like what comes up in the dictionary. And it says to forcibly overthrow something, like maybe a government, a party, a way of being, and or a fundamental change. And so I'm super curious because I believe, and I know Anniston is of the same mind, that teachers are always being qualified so they can teach. And I'm super curious, what has been the revolution of your life, your year of late? Anniston is coming out with a book, and she was sharing with me a few days ago. She was like, man, when I sat down to write this book, I didn't think I would have to go through all of this while writing the book, because we think we've gone through it, so now we can just write it. No, you're being requalified through the process. And so I would love to know, seeing as you've declared such a powerful word for the space, for the hundreds of people that are going to be present in the room, what was your journey, or what is your journey as you are going through this revolution?
Oh, this is a big one. I'm like, oof, am I going to get emotional through this? Gosh, I mean, I feel like I've been kind of on a wild ride the last couple of years, and the way that I describe it is it's like I'm being stretched, like in ways I don't want to be stretched. I feel like I'm like Elastigirl. Anybody ever watch The Incredibles? And it's like, I don't want to be Elastigirl. I just want to curl up into a ball and just like sit by the fire and be comfortable and cozy. And I know if I was in a room with you, you'd be like, that's me too. Like, I don't want to stretch anymore. And I feel like, honestly, the most revolutionary thing that has happened to me this year is that I've had to learn how to surrender and submit and release control. Like, I know a lot of type A, perfectionists, high performers. The reason why they are that way is because they're super controlling and they're trying to control everything in their life, and it comes at a cost. Typically their health or their relationships or whatever that is. But this year I have had to go through just the deepest, darkest, soul searching experience of my life, with one of my children having a serious life threatening challenge with his health. And I hated it. I was so pissed off and I wanted it to go away. And I want the answer now. And I want it to be fixed now. Cause I work in now time. I don't work in next time. And so I'm like, okay, what's the answer? But it has been this process of, guess what? You don't get to control. You have to surrender. And you have to submit to whatever the journey is and submit to wherever God or universe is taking you and whatever the lesson is. And Rudi, you so beautifully helped me at the beginning of this journey. And I effing hated it. I did. It was so hard and ripped me apart and stretched me and turned me into this person that there's a new level of depth and a new level of unstoppableness and a new level of this is not going to take me out. And that sort of revolutionary energy of oh, okay, I'm really here to play now. And I want people to leave that room feeling okay, whatever I'm feeling called to, whatever I feel is out there for me, I am going to expect that there's going to be resistance. I'm going to expect that there are going to be obstacles. I'm going to expect that there's going to be a curveball. I'm not going to like it, but I'm going to submit to it. I'm going to surrender to it. And I'm going to be curious about why it's here and what it's trying to teach me instead of resisting it and trying to control, which is our number one dominant behavior is we want to control because what do we want as humans? We want safety and security, basic human need. That's what we all want. But guess what? Gigs up, guys. You don't get to control. Gigs up. And once you realize that, it's just a totally different way of being. It's when the hard things come up, it's not I necessarily like them. But my new saying is that's so interesting. That's so interesting. I wonder why this is happening. Not why is this happening to me, but I wonder what this is here for. I don't call it hard. I don't call it bad. It's just really interesting. And to me, that's a different way to look at life. That's a revolutionary way of looking at things. I am more and more and more not trying to control. And old me sometimes tries to shift into control, but new me is that's futile, sis. That's not going to happen. So this is interesting. Why is this here? and to me, that has been the biggest thing because it ripped me apart in ways that I never wanted to be ripped apart. And that has been the most revolutionary experience because I also learned what I'm made of and what I can still do and how I can equally hold pain and passion, pain in one hand and passion to move forward in the other hand. And I can still be happy and full of life and joy and also really sad on some deep levels. And I think that most people do not believe that if they're going through a hard time, they should or could keep moving forward. And I always want to be a testament of that no matter what comes at you, it is actually very revolutionary to not put your whole life on pause, but instead to choose to find a way through, to find a path through, to not ignore the hard things that are happening in your life, but being this person that's yeah, I'm going to find a way. I'm going to keep moving forward. And I feel we need that so much more in this world because I don't think there's any absence of suffering or pain or hardship. And most people give up. Most people quit. But is there a way through? I know there's a way through. There was a way through for me, and I know there's a way through for others. And I know this room is going to be full of people that are fighting their own battles. They're going through their own hard things. And I know that at least half of that room is on the precipice of quitting. They're ready to quit.
Oh, for sure. No question. What an incredible lesson to teach. And again, we find it always interesting. We were just got off of this, planning what is one of the biggest events of the year for us. And both of the things that we were training on, we had to learn at a deeper level. It's almost be careful what you wish for. You're oh, I'm turning on this because I'm such an expert. And it's God's all right, I hear you. Challenge accepted. Right. And I think that it's in order to teach from a place of integrity, you have to have not only experienced it, but really embody the lesson, right? And I think that just a change of perspective is revolutionary. It will change everything for you. We think we need to change and organize and control everything around us, but really the only thing we can control is how we perceive that which is happening. And when you can start to shift how you perceive pain, and instead of seeing it as like, oh, bad luck is coming, instead saying, wow, I'm going through a challenging season. There's something really good coming. I'm being prepared. I'm being honed. I'm being crafted right now so that I'm ready. And on the other side of that, there's a more powerful, loving, resilient version of myself. And that is the reward, right? And the reward is always worth it. And so I think, but we need to be reminded of these things. We need, as you said, to hear testimony of these things so that when we are in those seasons and we're so close to it, we can't see the forest through the trees, that we can look at somebody else's life and say, oh, I remember what Brooke said. I remember what, she told me about her story. And I get to also remain faithful and strong in this moment and know that there's something good coming on the other end. So what a powerful align this is going to be this year. I can't wait.
It is.
So could you share with us a little bit about where the event's going to be? I know you change locations all the time. And also, how can people find it? Obviously, we're going to put all of the links into the show notes. But I would love, as you bring the episode to a close, not just telling us where can we find tickets, but what is like your overall wish for people as they go into this holiday season, preparing for how they want to show up for next year? Because this is divinely led that it's going to be in January, and it's the beginning of a new year, beginning of a new season, but we get to close out this season as we prepare for the next one. And I would love any of those parting thoughts from you.
Yes, it would be so much easier if I didn't do it in January, because the bulk of the, wrapping up stuff happens between now and the end of December. But I know that it's divinely appointed to be in January as this line of demarcation for what you are declaring for your year for 2025. And you are drawing your line in the sand that it is not going to be a repeat of the last year, the last 5 years, the last 10 years, that you're going to unlearn, that you're going to submit yourself to a new process and to becoming a new person. And so if that speaks to you, you can go to aligneventslive.com, and you can use the code INPOWER to save 20% on any ticket. So that's there for you. You can check it out. And I guess my wish for people is the same wish that I always have for people, is that they will not live a lost life. When I say a lost life, I mean a life where you feel the loss of what could be, the loss of regret, the loss of missed potential, the loss of missed opportunities, the loss of missing the healing that could happen in relationships, the loss of abundance and prosperity. The lost life is that life of just longing for what could be, and that this event would be an opportunity to wake yourself up. I believe it's a wake-up call. It's the opportunity to put yourself in a room where the intention is truly and purely for your transformation, for the opportunity for you to come closer to your own personal truth and path, and for you to leave there feeling empowered and equipped to create the change that you want to create in 2025. I believe that because I never really believed in myself and I didn't have a lot of confidence in myself, I'm so passionate about helping people to believe in themselves and to gain and to grow that confidence. And I believe making a decision to put yourself in the room is a huge step forward into saying, I believe in myself. I believe in my future, so much so that I'm going to put myself in the room with other people that are also trying to do the same thing in their own unique way. So that's my wish, is I want people to wake up. And I want them to live that life that is not lost, that life that they can feel like, at least I tried, I gave it a go, I went for it. And I feel like that's the life where you're just really lit up. And that's what I want for people.
Well, I just want to end today's episode by saying thank you to you. And Brooke, we obviously are friends. We have a lot of conversations that our audiences don't have access to, or at least the vantage point of what we say offline. but you have impacted our lives so beautifully in so many ways just by being you. And I don't mean just being in the room at a line. I just mean being you. And so I want to challenge the audience right now to really look at the people they spend the most time with. And then if you are wanting to have, to be, to do, to achieve something, which is true for every single person on the planet, who can you be with in proximity to that has already done or achieved something that you want? I shared with you offline, you own 3 homes, Hawaii, Florida, and then you in the incredible ski resorts in Utah. I'm like, good Lord, could you just pick any better locations to live? And, Anniston and I, that isn't something that we desire, is to have the freedom and the flexibility to homeschool our kids, to be able to travel for work, and then to park ourselves where we want to be to rejuvenate. And so in just that, you've created such a beautiful shift in us. But that wouldn't have shifted had we not spent time with you, had we not been in your space. Before I would have had all these stories of, oh no, that's selfish, or that's greedy, or could I afford that, or am I worthy of that? And now it's more like, where else can I live? And what other lifestyles can I have? And I want to challenge the audience, whether you attend this event or any other event, put yourself in a place where you are with people who are aligned, and I'm using that word intentionally, with the version you aspire to become, or the person that you want to become. We again have no gain in having Brooke on this show today, but we have spent the entire episode simply talking very intentionally about the benefits of what this room offers, because, we go to so many of these events, we're in so many of these rooms, and this is a really special room and you're a really special person. So thank you so much for joining us on the Empowered Life podcast. We're excited to be with you in January and to support people, and then to be in a room to be able to have our own revolution. So thank you again, Brooke.
Thank you. I'm so excited as well. Thank you for having me.
To everyone else that's listening, we love you guys so freaking much. Have the most amazing day. We'll catch you in the next episode of the Empowered Life podcast. If there is somebody in your circle that that could benefit from this event, or even just from something that was said during this conversation, we all know them. Share the episode so that they also can have a breakthrough today. We love you guys, and we'll catch you soon. Thanks again. Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe so you don't miss out on future content. And we would love your support in leaving us a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. Make sure to check the show notes for more information on how you can find us online and on Instagram. Now go create an amazing day for yourself, and we'll see you again soon.